welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. The title of this talk is Twitter in Medicine, Why and How We Do It. For those that don't know me, my name is Jenny Hong. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Radiology and Radiation Oncology. And I'm joined by Sarah Jiang, who's an assistant professor of pathology. This is a talk that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I'm very passionate about how Twitter's helped me in my career in the last year, and I wanted to share it with you. The fact that Sarah and I are doing this together is actually a testament to Twitter and its ability to bring people together, because Sarah and I knew each other IRL, which is in real life. We knew each other for over a year. We spent 7 o'clock, 1 hour doing head and neck tumor board once a month for a whole year, and we just said hi to each other. Collaboration, zero. Networking, zero. Communication, very minimal. And it wasn't until I joined Twitter about a year ago that I saw Sarah on Twitter, and since then we've discovered we have quite a few common interests, and I thought she'd be the perfect person here to pitch this with me to you. And the aim here is to help people that are not on Twitter or are interested in Twitter or even skeptical about Twitter to find out more about Twitter and to get you started. The outline of this talk is 3 parts. First of all, we're going to tell our stories of how we got on Twitter and why we've stayed on Twitter and the advantages that we've found. The second part of the talk is mostly done by Sarah, and she's going to be telling you what you should do, the pitfalls, some tips, how to do it smartly. And then the third part for people that are on Twitter or want to do more on Twitter, beyond Twitter 101, there's some information about tweeting at meetings, tweet chats, tweeting cases if you're a radiologist or a pathologist. Okay, so first of all, what is Twitter? This is the Twitter definition. It's really the skeleton of Twitter, and it is not at all alluring for you to get on Twitter. It says Twitter is an information network made up of 140 character messages called tweets. So that's a fact. You can't go more than 140 characters. It's an easy way to discover the latest news related to subjects you care about. And that's really the bare bones. And what this definition doesn't tell you is the possibilities and opportunities when you put people into the piece and the social engagement and networking. And that's what we're here to tell you about. Okay, so this is my Twitter profile. This is my Twitter handle. The handle is your name on Twitter. In my profile, it says I'm a neuroradiologist. I'm on a couple of committees, the ACR TIRADS committee. I'm the chair of the ASHMR research committee, and I'm the chair of Duke Radiology Grand Rounds. And then I'm a creator. I made this RadPath match, which I'll tell you about later. And then there's this geeky picture of a thyroid and a parathyroid adenoma. Okay, so that's my profile, and this is where the story begins. July 2014, I received a proof of a paper from the American Journal of Neuroradiology. And along with all the glaringly obvious mistakes I made that they wanted me to correct and to clarify, they had this question: do you want to include your Twitter handle? And I received a couple of proofs from them in the last year, and I thought, this is new, you know, what is a Twitter handle? So I actually had to Google this. I did not know what a Twitter handle was. I'd actually created a Twitter account years ago, but never did anything with it. So I Googled it and realized, oh, that's the name of my Twitter account. And I thought, why on earth would I want to put in my Twitter handle? I don't tweet. When people contact me, they'll just use my email. So I laughed at this, and then I went home and told my husband, and he said, to my surprise, oh my God, why are you not on Twitter professionally? And I said, well, there are very good reasons I'm not on Twitter professionally. I'm too busy. I've already got information coming through emails, and I just can't keep up with it. I don't really have time for more information. And how important could that information be that I need to know about it there and then and currently? And then I said, it's not my style. I know all about Twitter. It's for inappropriate people, this social networking. I don't want to tell people and rant about the barista on 93 and the byway. And I know that it's for celebrities. People tweet selfies. They tweet about their donuts. I've heard about Justin Bieber and the Kardashians, and I'm really not interested. And I don't think it could be useful for medicine. And then I said, I don't really see any value. Duke Radiology does not consider social media as a metric for productivity or promotion. It's really not going to help me, and I only want to focus on things that are going to help me in academics if that's what I'm doing it for. So I went away, and mysteriously that night a Twitter app appeared on my phone. I think my husband hacked into my phone and installed it, and he said, just get back on your account and look look at it for a week and decide if you're interested. And so I did that, and I had the completely incorrect strategy, and Sarah's going to tell you about the right strategy. So I was on it for a week, and I was overwhelmed by the tweets, and I didn't interact with anyone, and I decided that's it. I was right, he was wrong. Yet again, I'm going to get off Twitter. So I stopped all the notifications and just went about my way for another 2 months. I didn't do anything on Twitter. And then it was October, so it was this time last year. At that time, I got together with the guys from Radiopedia. I'd done a blog with them previously, so I was actually interested in how many page views the blogs received compared to the journal articles. And so the Radiopedia people gave me the information, and the journal articles, 2 journal articles gave me the information. And this is what I found. I was astounded. The Radiopedia blog in about 10 months received 34,000 views. So people had been reading my blog about what to do with thyroid nodules that were incidental. But the peer-reviewed journals, the 2 journals, received 14 times less and 11 times less the number of page views. And so I realized, well, if I'm actually passionate about getting my message out in academics, then don't worry about what the metrics are for Duke for productivity. The fact that people are reading the material means that I'm getting the information out, so I should actually take another look at social media. So then I got back on social media and got back on Twitter, really at that stage only for the purposes of sharing my message about what I thought about incidental thyroid nodules and then my own research. And since then, I've discovered that the reason I got on Twitter actually ranks last in terms of the advantages I see. By far, number one advantage I see that Sarah is going to talk more about, so I'm not going to touch on that as much, is the social engagement, connecting with people, and the information I receive. And I tell people that it's actually like having a lot of positive, supportive, interesting, informed friends around you throughout the day. The second advantage and the third advantage I'll talk about more, and even the fourth. So the tweets that I hear and send out, I think they're real life opportunities. I've definitely received invitations to write and to give lectures based on connections on Twitter and the information I put out. But one real direct example of this is a tweet chat I was involved in back in January of this year, where someone was complaining about radiology reports and unclear communication and how harmful that is to the referring physicians and their relationship. And I said, have we identified examples of jargon and cliches that radiologists should not use? First, intent to change, and then guidance is important. And that person that was mentioned here is actually the editor of the Journal of American College of Radiology. And this conversation continued after this tweet chat onto the weekend, onto Saturday morning. There were a couple of people involved. And this actually led to a whole column in JACR on speaking of language, on radiology jargon and poor communication that I write for now. And if you're thinking, well, that's because you've already got connections, you know some of these people and they know you can write. Well, Sam Kosminski, who's a neuroradiology fellow, was also involved in that conversation, and he also writes regularly for that column. So it is people that are trainees can be involved in writing through Twitter. The third advantage that I've encountered is creative applications to academics. I love academics because I can do more than just my job, which is reading films in a dark room. I can get out there and lecture, think about creative ways to teach temporal bone anatomy, as you know. And Twitter has been a new vehicle for leashing out my creativity. There's a hashtag that I created called RadPathMatch. When I was on Twitter, I discovered pathologists like tweeting cases as well. We both have beautiful images, so why not match and retweet a pathologist image and match it with an example from my library of a radiology image. So here's a chordoma of the skull base, and then a microscopic image of a chordoma. And then here's another case of a dentigerous cyst. And this was actually written up in the ACR bulletin and blogged about. The new favorite hashtag here is RadPathMatch. The other example of doing something creative with Twitter is a neuroradiology course I'd always done with the ACR about twice a year. And I'd done about 4 times before. This is my 5th time. And I knew what the course was about. I knew there was probably about 50 people that would attend, and they were mostly private practice and older people. So I contacted David Newsom. I said, can we try using Twitter this time at this course? And he said, yeah, sure. And I guess I think I was a little bit skeptical. I thought, well, I could introduce it, but I bet only about 5 people sign up. Well, the ACR heard about this and they were very excited, and they sent down a team of people every day at this course to sign people up to Twitter. And as a result, 48 of the 50 people that attended this course were actually signed up to Twitter, and they were actively favoriting and consuming this material. So at this course, and as an example of what you can do with 140 words, there were pictures of people giving lectures. There were reading materials of articles that we discussed on the podium, as well as pre-reading links to the articles. There were unknown cases as well. And these are some pictures from the course. People were really excited. This is what one person said: I cannot believe how quickly so much information can be shared. It's easily to access it on my iPad or iPhone. It's truly amazing and exciting. So there's a lot of enthusiasm there, because people didn't have to look up articles. They didn't have to wait for individual emails to be sent to them. They could actually just get on Twitter and then favorite it to keep it for after the course. And this was written up in the ACR bulletin as well. Okay, so then the final advantage is the impact, spreading the word to thousands. As you know, Duke Radiology Grand Rounds is now being tweeted every week with this hashtag DukeRad Grand Rounds, and I select about 6 slides every week to tweet out. And it's not just me that's doing this crazy business. Here's Mike Miller's tweet of the room and the introduction to Harry Jar. And this is and this is, thank you, Mike, for attending. This is an example of a picture of one of the slides I took, and then I just said strategies to control over diagnosis. And you can see here that 10 people have retweeted it and 3 people have favorited it. And this is the analytics. This meant that this one tweet out of about 15 tweets that went out in Grand Rounds reached 1,600 people. This one tweet. So it's a great way of communicating and of actually getting people to look at Duke Radiology and look what we're doing. And then another example of impact is a tweet that I did for the Speaking of Language article. This tweet got 43 retweets, 24 favorites, and it reached 5,325 people, this one tweet. So it is literally thousands of people, because someone else is retweeting you, has more followers, and then it just goes on and on like a cycle. So if you actually care about something, you have a message, you've read something interesting, Twitter's a great way to spread the information. Okay, so that's me, and I know you're thinking, well, I'm not an attending, I'm maybe not interested in in academics, I might be interested in private practice. I'm only a first year, I'm just a medical student, so what can I do on Twitter? Well, to get the advantages of Twitter, you don't even have to tweet. You can just sit there and look at what's happening around you, and you'll become more informed about your profession. Awareness is really important, particularly these days where practices that hire you are looking really at value and what you can contribute and your awareness of the issues around you, not just that you can sit down and read your films or do your work or read your slides. But if you do get on Twitter and you do tweet and become engaged, it's a great way to network. I really believe that it's actually more advantageous for someone younger to be on Twitter or someone lower down in their career, because Twitter really flattens the hierarchy. You can reach experts, you can reach people that are in senior positions. I would communicate with people on Twitter that I probably wouldn't have the opportunity to talk to in real life. And then thirdly, for people that are not attendings, it actually gives you some online presence and a reputation. Because I have the Duke website to direct people to about what I'm about, but no, you don't have a website. So Twitter tells people what you're passionate about, what your issues are, and that you care about, and that you're actually active and interested in your specialty. Okay, so that's my pitch, and now I'm going to turn to Sarah to tell you her story.
Okay, so first off, my apologies. I was at our big pathology meeting this weekend, and I talked so much IRL in real life that I actually lost my voice. So I normally don't sound like a frog with COPD, but today I do. So to introduce myself, I'm an assistant professor of pathology. I do cytopathology, and I focus in areas of the head, neck, and endocrine pathology. So obviously a lot of professional overlap with the areas that Jenny's interested in. And so I was really thrilled when she asked me to come give this talk with her. And this is my Twitter screen. You can see from here that I'm still working on catching up to Jenny in terms of numbers of followers, but I'm getting there. And then my Twitter story is a little bit similar, a little bit different. It all kind of started back when I was still a resident, when I got an email from the College of American Pathologists right before our annual meeting, right around this time of year, saying, calling all CAP11 social media volunteers. And I thought, why would you need someone to volunteer for social media? Like, do you really need people to post pictures of cats from the meeting? This doesn't make any sense to me. But you know what? I was like, I'm a resident. I want to get more engaged. And sure, sign me up, right? Say yes to everything and opportunities will come. And so I got this job description, which was roving iPad reporter. It seems crazy to say this at this point in time, but back in 2011, the iPad was still actually relatively new. So I was excited to, get my hands on one. I didn't have one yet. And they said, the role of the roving reporter is to communicate via Twitter of, CAP education events, CAP events and interviews. And I thought, well, this is weird. This doesn't really jive with my impression of Twitter, which was kind of like Jenny's, which was that it was a way for celebrities to complain, to put themselves out there, to get themselves in the news in a bad way. And so I thought, oh, this is interesting, let me see what this is all about. And so over the course of that meeting, I essentially live tweeted the meeting from the CAP official Twitter account. There were a couple of us tweeting out little pearls of wisdom. And I thought, it was really fun because I was looking at what other people were tweeting. I was sitting in the sessions and thinking, this would be a great pearl to broadcast out to a bigger audience. And so that was a lot of fun. But then I went home and, stopped using Twitter. I signed up for my own Twitter account, but I never tweeted from it. And kind of over the years, I knew that Twitter was there, but didn't really do much with it. And over the course of the past several years, there have been a number of editorials in the Archives of Pathology and Laboratory Medicine, which is one of the big journals, talking about the rise of the social pathologist. And I would read these, and they would make these points of, pathology is a specialty, in some ways much like radiology, where we don't get a lot of face-to-face patient contact. And you don't have to read the text. I shouldn't have put that up there. But I think it's really important as diagnosticians to share the important work that we do. It's not the surgeons reading the slides and making the diagnosis. It's, not the surgeons reading the film and making the diagnosis. We're the ones doing this important work for patient care, and we have a lot of expertise that we can share with other clinicians and the public. And I'm always looking for other avenues to do it, and I think a lot of other people are as well. Tim Allen, who does a lot of blogging and is very active on social media, he's a pathologist. He called social media a pathologist force multiplier. And so, pathology is still a relatively small specialty within the greater scope of medicine, but by being on social media, by engaging with the public, it's a way to reach a lot more people and share information, share what we do. And then this is an article from just this month's issue of the Pathologist magazine, and this person here, the social pathologist, is Jared Gardner. He is an attending down at the University of Arkansas and really has been very instrumental in terms of signing pathologists up for social media. He's probably responsible for getting more pathologists on Twitter than anyone else, and he is very talkative in real life as well, so it helps him kind of gather more followers into the fold. And so really there's been a lot of groundswell in terms of writing about the importance of social media in medicine. And so I got back on Twitter probably around actually just March of this year and started tweeting my own tweets. Now that I'm on faculty, I see so many cool cases of things. We have such great volume, such interesting and complex cases. I wanted to be able to share that with people. And so, to me, I think the benefits are, a lot of it overlaps with what Jenny was saying. But as academicians specifically, and even as residents, I'm always looking for a way to stay informed that's easy. We want to be up to date on the latest news in our specialty, in life, really. And we want to be able to network, get your name out there, meet the other people. And there's just so little time. And I found that Twitter is actually a great way to if you're waiting for the elevator, go on Twitter. I mean, if you're in Duke South waiting for an elevator, that's, hours of your life over the course of a residency or, career here. So use those tiny little micro minutes, get on Twitter, you can stay informed, you can network with people, and it's a really easy way to take that, waste of time in the grocery line and turn it into something that's going to be productive and useful for you. And so, just an example, when I get a cool case across my desk, here's a slide flat that I've de-identified with my very fancy software. It's a cool case, and I would just basically put a Post-it note on it, send it to a resident, say, hey, Joe, go show this around to some of the other residents. It's a really cool case, and maybe a dozen residents look at it, and I have no idea, what happens to it, if anything. But now with Twitter, the new way is, if I have a cool case of a GIST, this is a great case that we got on FNA, really great spindle cells, really great stains. I can put it on Twitter, and you can see this one, I got 23 favorites, 28 retweets. So I know for a fact that at least 28 people have seen it and thought it was cool enough to share with their followers. And I didn't have time to look up the cool stats on the number of impressions, but I know for sure this has reached more people than it would if I just kind of left it down in the resident room. And I think that's really useful and fun.
Sarah, can you go back a slide?
Yes.
Can you talk about hashtag and your ads?
I will in a moment. Yes. After my story and my proselytizing, I'll actually give you guys some nuts and bolts as to what the anatomy of the tweet, right? So in terms of staying informed, like I said, I get all the journals on my desk, and they arrive, and I put them in a pile of journals to read, and it gets taller and taller, and I feel guilty staring at them. And, every so often, okay, I'll get on a plane ride and I'll bring a journal with me and read. But in real life, I don't do as good of a job as I should keeping up with the journals. But with Twitter, for instance, this is a tweet from Cancer Cytopathology. I'm a cytopathologist, and they actually tweet out articles, and I just see, hey, look, thyroid nodules with KRAS mutations. I do thyroid. Let me click on that. And that little link there will take you to the article. And so you can kind of select out in real time the articles you're interested in. And, you don't have to sit there with a real magazine. So I find that to be really powerful. And then one of the other things I'm really interested in is advocacy, legislative issues, and keeping abreast of what's going on in legislation and medicine. And again, I get the emails from various organizations, the Medical Society, AMA, and it goes into my inbox. I mean to read it, and I don't. But with things like Twitter, I get tweets from the North Carolina Medical Society with, how is this newly passed budget going to affect us? And things from the AMA about political advocacy. And it's another really easy way to stay on top of those things. And then from a non-medical perspective, I actually keep up on the latest news much, much better because I follow some of the local news. And then this is, for instance, WRIL traffic. So if I'm waiting for the elevator and I get this tweet and I see there's an accident on the Beltline, I can know to avoid it. I don't go home on the Beltline, which is great. I live in Durham. But if you do live in Raleigh or you want those traffic updates, it actually helps you in your non-professional life as well. So it's kind of an added bonus. And so, I've been a little more active. I was really excited when this blog said I was one of the top 10 pathology Twitter accounts to follow. This was back in the day, so I think I have more competition now. And, it's just a blog. And then, more recently, I think our specialty societies have gotten really much more on board with social media. I think pathology has maybe been a little bit slower than radiology. We don't have all the fancy digital technology, but we've definitely, the CAP, USCAP are two big specialty societies, and they've definitely both gotten on board in a big way this year. You can see this was the meeting that I was just at and is still actually going on. They recruited people to come tweet for them. They called them the Twitterati. There's my little face kind of down here. And they had a whole array of social media kind of activities to try and encourage people to get more networks. So I think the big specialty societies are seeing the value in engaging on social media as well.